Hi everyone, Anshita this side. Welcome back to ABAutomationHub. In today's video, we are going to learn about what is type conversion in Python. Type conversion refers to the process of converting a value from one data type to another data type. And in Python, we have two types of type conversion. One is implicit type conversion and the other one is the explicit type conversion. Today, we are going to cover both of the type and we will also cover some common mistakes and how we can avoid them. And in the end, we will do some practice questions. Fine. Now let's start with the implicit type conversion. It is also known as automatic type conversion because here Python automatically converts the smaller data type into the larger ones to prevent data loss. For example, you have a variable of type integer and then you have a other variable of type float. And when you try to add both of them, it will be the output would be a float number, not integer. Why? Because Python automatically converts the smaller data type to a higher one. And in this case, the int would be converted to float to prevent the data loss. Now let's see example for this one. So let's quickly create a new file for this one, typeconversion.py. And here, let's first learn about implicit or automatic type conversion. Now let's understand with an example. So we have a variable numInt. The value of numInt is 5. Okay. And we have another variable which is numFloat and the value is 2.5. And now let's say we have one more variable in which we are saving the sum of both. So numInt plus numFloat. Fine. So let's print this one. So value of result is result. So in this case, what is happening? So we have an integer value, which is 5, and then we are adding the floating number, which is 2.5. And this will return 7.5 here. It will not return 7, but it will return 7.5. Why? Because this is an automatic type conversion in Python. And here, the low precision data type is converted to a high precision, and here the lower one is integer. Why it is happening? Because this conversion prevents the data loss. That's why Python implicitly convert the integer to float because the result involves a floating number over here. Let's also do one thing. Let's also print the data type for this one. So let's write over here data type of result is. We have already learned in the previous session. In order to check the data type, we use the type function like this. Now let's run this and let's see the result. So here you see value of the result is 7.5 and the data type is float. Although we have one integer and one float, but it is converting it to float over here, right? This is the concept of implicit type conversion in Python. Now let's see one more practice question over here. For example, we have a boolean value. So let's say num boolean, okay? And the value is true. And we have one integer value. Let's name it as integer 10. And now we just want the addition of these two. So we are saying num boolean plus int. In this case, what will happen? In this case, integer will take the higher precedence. So the value of boolean is true. True means 1. So it will be 1 plus 10. So the result would be 11. Fine. Now let's print this one. So print, and let's also get the data type for this one. Let's also add one more print statement over here and let's write type function for output. When we print this one, it will return us 11 and this will return us integer over here. Now let's see. So you see over here, now the value is 11, output is 11 and the data type is integer. If the Boolean value is false here, then it would be 0 plus 10. False is 0, true is 1, okay? And then the result would be 10. But again, the data type will be changed to integer. Anyways, the addition is happening over here, right? That's why the data type will be changed to integer. So if we run this one, output is 10 and the data type of the output is int. Fine. So this is the concept of implicit type conversion in Python. Now let's see the second type, which is explicit type conversion, or we also call it as typecast. Python will not automatically convert some of the data type. For that, we need to use the inbuilt functions like integer, float, string, right? For these type of conversion, we have to use the inbuilt functions. So these are some of the common type conversion functions in Python. In case you want to convert some data type to an integer data type, you have to use int function. And in case you want to convert it to a float, you have to use the float function, and you have to pass either the variable name or the value over here. And then we also have a function for converting to string. So in case you want to convert an integer to a string, you can also do that using the string function. Now let's see the example for each of these. For example, we have a string and the string value is, let's say, string variable, and the value is 100. Okay. Now we want to convert this into an integer. Let's create a new variable. In order to convert this string into an integer data type, what we have to do? We have to use the int function, and inside that you need to pass the variable name. So here variable name is num_str. Fine. So what will happen? Here it will be changed to string. That means it will be changed to 100. Now if we print this one, it will return us integer over here. Let's do one thing. Let's also print over here. Print. So here we are printing the value as well as we are printing the data type. Fine. And then we are converting it to an integer, and then we are printing it. Let's do one thing. Let's just rename int num and int. Now if we try to run this one, it will return us the string value as well as the data type. Fine. So here for the data type, let's use the type function. Here it will print us the data type. Now let's run this one. And if we see the output, first of all, the data type is string. And then the data type is class int. Why class int? Because we are doing the typecasting. Typecasting means we are converting it to an integer value. Let's do one thing. Let's print the value also. Fine. Let's run it. Now you can see this is 100 and this is int. Now let's see one more example over here. For example, we have a string. Let's name it as x. The value of x is 12. And now what we have to do? We have to convert into an integer. Then we have to add. So first step is to convert into an integer. Let's save it in a variable. Let's say y. Okay. And in order to convert, we will use int function over here. So this is typecasting. Here we are converting it to an integer value. Fine. And now we want to perform some addition. So let's write over add. We are creating a new variable, and now y plus 10. And now if we print this one, so what will happen? In this case, it would be 12 plus 10. So the value would be 22 here. Now let's see. The value of add is 22 now. Why 22? Because initially it was string. Here it is string. But then we have typecasted it to an integer value, and then we have added integer into that. Now let's also do one thing. Let's also print the data type of this one. Fine. And if I run it again, you see this is 22 and class integer. This is an integer type. Fine. But now if I change it to 10.5, first I'm trying to convert into an integer, and then I'm adding a floating number. So in this case, my add variable, the output would be 22.5 and the data type would be float here. Fine. Now let's run it. So you see, this is float. But what if I don't want a floating number? That also is possible. So what you can do, we will convert into an integer. So here what will happen? Here the value would be 22. Why 22? Because we are fetching the integer. Earlier it was 22.5 because it was floating number. Here, when we have converted into an integer number, the value would be 22. And then it will print integer type. So here, we are combining both the concept, the explicit type conversion as well as the implicit type conversion. Here, both things are happening. Manual plus automatic. Now, let's see one of the common issues in type conversion. For example, we have a variable and let's name it as I. Okay. And the I variable is string. Let's say ABAutomationHub. Okay. And then we have other variable, which is an integer. Let's say 10. Now we are saying we want to convert I to an integer value. So for this, if we use integer typecasting, it will throw us an error. So if I print my value, here if I run it, and the error would be the value error. You see, value error. Why value error? Because we cannot convert to an integer. Earlier we were converting because it was a numeric value inside the string. That's why you are getting value error over here. So this is a common error whenever you are working with Python. So ensure the string contains only the digit before the conversion, because otherwise it will throw this value error. Fine. This is our common issue 1. Okay. Now let's see one more issue which is very common in Python. So let's write over here common issue 2. Let's say we have a variable named as age. And now we are printing my age is like this. So let's do one thing. Let's just comment these two. And now let's run this one. So here you will get a type error. Why type error? Because it can only concatenate string to string. Here what we are doing, we are concatenating integer with the string. So this is my string value and this is an integer. That's why it is throwing an error. But what if I change it to a string value? So if I change it to string and then if I run it, it will not throw error. So here it will not throw error. It will print this one. So this is the common issue whenever you are trying to concatenate. So make sure to convert your number to string before the concatenation. So let's do a quick recap about what we did today. So first of all, we learned about the type conversion. So what is type conversion? Type conversion is basically the process of converting a data type into another data type. So this is my definition of type conversion. Next thing we learned about the implicit data conversion. So implicit type conversion is performed by Python interpreter only. You don't have to do anything manual over here. It is an automatic process by Python itself. So we can just write over here second point. So implicit type conversion is performed by a Python interpreter only. Then we learned about the explicit type conversion. So explicit type conversion is performed by user by explicitly using the type conversion function like integer, string, boolean, float, right? So you can use those inbuilt functions to do the typecasting. So let's write over a third point. Fourth point is explicit type conversion is also known as typecasting in Python. This is very important. You should know what is typecasting in Python. And the last point, which is very important, Python, whenever it performs implicit typecasting, it avoids the loss of data, which means if you are performing an addition of integer plus float, it will always return you float. Why? Because it prevents the data loss. That's why it will convert it to a higher data type. So these are the some important 5 points which you should know when you're working with the type conversion. I hope this is clear. So yeah, that's all for today's video. That's all for the type conversion in Python. And if you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching AB Automation Hub.